Hello, hello, hello. It's the mama.
Hootie hoo.
All right, so this is Codie, mama to Brooks, who is turning 7 any second. Aristotle and Langston, who will be 5 a little after Brooks turns 7. And that's
For the record, they are twins.
They are twins.
Okay.
Yes.
They're both gonna be 5.
They're both going to be 5.
This is Codie. Your babies are 5.
Girl.
The babies.
I
The
agree.
babies.
We
are
used to call
5.
them babies.
Should we
Remember
do
when we
anything
used to be
again or
like
just
them
rock with
babies?
it?
I know.
They are
Where
big
did
boys
this
now.
happen? Our kids are growing up.
Oh, man.
Before our eyes.
Okay.
Girl, peace is.
I'd say we
45.
just rock with it.
I'm
we'll
like,
get their reactions to
what's
my
happening?
intro. It's totally
Yeah,
fine.
She's about to be a teenager soon.
Okay. Yes. Who's about to be a teenager? Let's finish our intro.
Oh, sorry. Was you done?
I did my kids. Who I am.
Oh,
I told everyone that her kids are twins,
They are.
in case anybody was wondering when she said Langston and Aristotle are going to be 5.
And they don't like being called the babies or the twins. So I have to remember to say Langston and Aristotle.
Oh, this is.
Or A&L.
But this is exactly what we need to talk about
I
today. Okay, this
know.
is Melanie, and I'm mom of 2. Cameron is 7. Kaya Love, the Sagittarius, is going to be 2 in December. So how old does that make her? 20 months?
Who does
20,
that?
who
We're not
knows? I
counting.
can't.
Don't do that.
Once they go a year and a
Don't
half, you just
even.
go and don't.
almost
I
2. I just say
my
I would say
babies.
almost 2.
I don't like that.
My
she's
babies-
1 until she's 2, and then she's 2 until she's
Really?
3. I don't count the months. It's
I'm the same.
utterly
Yeah, the month-
You
I'm
can
not
say
doing all that
almost
math.
2. She's more 2 than 1.
No, she won, and then she.
Do you
gonna be
remember we
2.
saw that post recently where that woman was like, I have my son, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my oldest child is 42 months. I was like, bitch, what? I can't even do that math. What is this? 42 months?
She's doing
Are you
too
raising an
12,
adult
24,
or
that's
right?
4?
It's just
doing too
under
much.
4.
I don't know. That's stupid.
48 would be 4.
They're 1 until they're 2. And they're 2
Anyway,
until
that's
they're
right.
3.
So she's a year and a half. Let's call it that.
Okay, that's fair.
And she's a year and a half, and
She's more than a year and a half.
She's very dramatic.
She's lovely.
Actually, I can't with you. Okay, carry on, ladies.
I'm Felicia, aka Mama Fee. So I have Peace, who is 9, and Zen, who is 4. He'll be 5 in January.
Zan is gonna be 5.
Girl,
The twins are going to be 5.
They're gonna be
it's
5.
crazy.
All the babies is 5.
How many kids you got?
12.
No, all the babies were
damn.
5 until you two had babies, like
Right.
real babies.
That's fair.
Oh, my bad.
So this is Ashley Chia. I'm a Capricorn. I have 4 kids. Amira, who's 14. Actually, she's about to be 15 in March. Like,
Okay, well, that's ahead.
You
friends.
jumping.
Whoa.
Come on,
I mean, it's
dog.
coming.
You doing it to
Jumping.
yourself,
It's
sis.
coming.
It's like 6 months away.
She does it to herself.
I do.
It's a whole
You really
You know, I
seasons
told you
from
I
now.
think 10 steps ahead. It's hard for me to live in the moment. Okay, so Amira is 14. Azara is 7. All our kids are going to be 7.
Girl, tell the damn age
Okay,
of
I'm
your
sorry. Oh
kids.
my God. And Asi is 5. All our kids are going to be 5. No, okay, I'll stop. And then Atalia, she is 20.
Nah, she's a year and a half. She's a month younger than Kaya, older than Kaya. That's that.
She's 21 months old.
Wait, Aussie is going to be 5.
Asi is already 5. She turned 5
Why
in
did it take us
May.
this long
Oh,
just to
I thought you were
list all
saying-
these damn kids.
All of our children will
be 5 at the same
all of our
time?
kids are the same age.
We all have kids
crazy.
that are aligned
Yeah.
at the same age.
We
at
all
some
have
point,
a
yeah.
7-year-old and we'll all have a 5-year-old.
I do not have a
Show us
5-year-old.
two
Praise God.
I mean, shoot. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Can we move on? What do you want to talk about?
Yes.
I want to talk about these kids. I want to talk, and it's actually perfect because the ages I think are important as well. Because I recently, as everyone knows, if you've listened to the podcast, my eldest is Cameron. He's 7 years old. He was our only for almost 6 years, and so the relationship that I think we built with him as his parents, my husband and I, has always been kind of this one thing. But now he's in school. He's got a new social circle. He plays sports. Like he's evolving into this other person. And I'm seeing qualities about him that are no longer cute to me. I'm just gonna keep it real. They're not cute anymore. Like now I'm kind of like, yo, like I need you to step up a little bit in your maturity. And y'all know that's hard for me because I love Cameron. And you guys know Cam. He's like the sweetest
soul.
sweetest soul. Like that's exactly who he is. He's a soul. And so sometimes I have this like deep level of sensitivity for him and a desire to like protect him from the harsh realities of the world. But also I need him to also be of this world. His imagination is deep, it's wild, it's active. And so sometimes I find myself having to parent him differently than I've had to.
So what's happening? Like, what's an example?
So like, for example, it's like, I'm becoming my mom. And I'm like,
Girl.
when I'm like, yo, how many times do I have to ask you to do something? You know? And I don't know if that's like an age thing. I don't know if it's a personality thing. But I feel like there was once upon a time where I told Cameron no. I told Cameron, hey, can we do this? Hey, can you get that? And it was very like, yes. And it was easy. Now there's like this struggle with focus. There's a resistance. There's an attitude that's coming with it. And I'm a thug inside. So I feel like naturally I want to like snap back at him and be like, boy, are you nuts? Who are you talking to? But I also, again, have that level of compassion for what it's like to be a kid. And sometimes you don't want to do the things that you have to do or need to do.
Sorry.
Girl, if you gotta go in the bathroom, you can go in the bathroom.
I didn't want to be rude. I'm listening.
I'm listening. And I wanted to have this conversation with you too, Codie, because we have sons that are the same age. And I don't... What? Who sneezes?
Girl.
It's because she was trying to hold it in, so when it finally came out, it was like
So I actually wanted you to be here this week too when we talked about it, because I wanted to know if you're experiencing a shift, because I'm having this I'm constantly having these conversations with him where I feel like I got to be really tough with him now. And that's not typically been our dynamic. I have to be more stern. I have to be more no nonsense. I have to be a little bit more like, hey, I'm not going to coddle these emotions, because I feel like sometimes he takes advantage of the fact that he knows that I'm the safe space for that. So it's like a real dynamic change for me, and I'm like, I don't want it to go so far where he thinks I'm the bad guy, like I'm the mean parent now.
It's funny hearing you say the examples in particular, because I'm like, I feel like I've been saying that for a minute to him, to Brooks. But I think part of it, maybe either Ashley or Felicia relates to. Part of it too is that, for better or for worse, he became like a big brother that I babied the littler ones longer. So I started snapping on Brooks a little earlier, because I'm like, I need you to do that while they, And so I've actually had to sort of train myself and remember that he is a kid and to give him that kidness. But I also very much relate to what you're saying and just the need to like check him at times too. It's just been a different timing for it for me, because I feel like I've expected or have asked him to be a little bit more of the big boy, the big brother, the helper sooner than you probably did.
Right, because our kids, y'all got to baby him. Your
for
sons are how many years apart?
The Aristotle and Langston are 2 years younger than Brooks.
Okay, so they're closer in age.
Yes, and
so
when they were born, he was old enough to do things, and y'all know he picks up on things like we could always talk to him. So it's like, can you help me do this? Can you help me do that? Which he enjoys until he's like, no, I'm trying to play.
Yeah,
and I think for me, it's not even like the help aspect is one aspect of it, but it's also me looking to see him turn this corner of responsibility for himself. We are pretty structured. We have routines in the house. It's the same thing almost every day. And one of the hardest things for me is like, why do I still need to remind you to do XYZ when you have been doing XYZ consistently for the last 780 days? Like,
it's not going to stop.
I'm really struggling with it. I am. I'm not even gonna lie.
Because I'm going to let you know right now, you will be doing that well into their teens. Well into their teens. It doesn't mean the most well-intended child. I don't know. I read some study that said that you have to literally tell your kid. Oh, you know that show, the parent test. Yeah. The psychiatrist was on there, and remember they did that test where they told their kids like, don't talk to strangers or whatever. Then they did a test, and all the kids like were doing it, and they were like, I swear to God, we've told our kid this, and they were like, you have to tell your kid the same thing every day.
Yeah,
like it doesn't matter because their frontal lobe is not developed. Like they don't remember. Yeah, and so it feels infuriating at times because you're like, I just told you this shit yesterday.
Yeah,
but my teenager every day. My teenager who is, she's so good, right? Like everything else, like 2 grades ahead, all of these things. And I'll be like, did you brush your teeth today? You know you have to floss. Because she has braces. I'm like, did you put your rubber bands on? Like the same thing. Did you put on deodorant? Oh, I forgot. Did you wash your face? Oh. And I'm like, girl. Like even the face thing, I'm like, did you wash your face? Like when she gets out of the shower and comes and sits next to me and her dad, she'll be like, oh, I forgot. And we're like, how do you not remember to wash your face, but you wash the rest of your body? And she'll be like, I don't know. And it's like a blank. Yes. You know what I mean? So I'm just letting you know now that it's not going to end.
It also
is
peace like this?
Yeah. I have to remind them every day. But with peace, I feel as though...
Because I do... Sorry to interrupt you. Like, I do feel like peace is, as far as maturity goes... Yeah. she is giving me old sage soul. Like,
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't not clean her room and doesn't, wash the what is it when you're brushing your teeth? Wash
the toothpaste that gets in the sink.
Girl, every time I'm like, Bear, I'm like, please, baby, just push
the
it
sink
down
out.
on the sink. Just push it down. But no, she's definitely like that. It's funny because Zen, I feel like, is more. He remembers more than Peace does.
Mm-hmm. Really?
And so sometimes I have to catch myself because I'll compare.
Yep.
And I'll tell her,
Yes.
like, girl, your brother's 4. How he remember, but you don't remember. And it's really just a conversation, not necessarily like pitting them against each other.
No.
But she'll just be like, okay, Mom. But I definitely have to remind them all the time.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the way you described it too, Melanie, of like this is a very clear shift for you.
Yes.
It makes me think of like when you have a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old and every month is something new. You think you've turned a corner and sleep training looks like this and then it changes and like that's kind of the lesson forever.
That's exactly it. That's the thing that I'm realizing is like I'm realizing that I have to become a different parent to my children as they evolve.
Absolutely.
And as we both evolve and grow and as situations change and circumstances arise, like this is the season that I'm in and I'm learning it. And I'm like, whoa, I now have to, whatever I thought I was doing and knew, like I got to now be someone different.
So I say, don't get too comfortable.
That's what I was going to say. And once Kaya gets older, it's also the shifting between who you are as a parent, between your children within the same day. It's not even like, oh, this is a new month and this kid, like you have multiple children, you have 3. You literally are a different parent with each child because they all have such different needs. They all process information differently, and it's very draining. Like with my kids, especially Asia, she's going through this phase right now where she's just like crying a lot and she's screaming at us. Like screaming her emotions. Like I'll hear her yelling at her dad, like, I'm just upset. Okay. And I'll be like, who are you talking to? And why can I hear you from across? She cannot come down like from her feelings.
Yeah, she's trying to she can't regulate.
No. And
which is also
So
super normal.
what does it take ultimately for her to come down?
Oh, girl, prayer. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. No, seriously.
said, we need Jesus.
She's not coming down.
Yeah.
Like, we've
That's
tried.
the same with A&L.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking.
No,
it's like,
we tried everything. I wish
Well,
that
what
I
do
could
you
give
do?
you.
Can you tell us
Okay,
what you
so
do?
we were trying the hug thing, hug them when she loves a hug, and that works. But then what happens is she calms down as you're hugging her, but then when you let go, she starts crying again. And she has like a lot of rage and regret. So she's like crying because she's upset, and then she also feels bad for crying at the same time. And then her dad told her, her father, a man, told her, you can't keep saying sorry and then keep doing the same thing. And I was like, I'm sorry. So she says this to me the other day. She was like, well, I want to say sorry, but Daddy said I can't say sorry if I do it again. And I said, your father, the person who apologizes to me for the same thing every day for the past 15 years, you absolutely can continue to say sorry. And we had a family... I didn't tell you this. We had a family meeting yesterday.
You had the meeting.
Yeah, so I called Melanie because I was losing my mind. I had to go to Target because everybody was getting on my nerves and I was about to chop everybody's head off. And so I went to Target to calm down. And then I was talking to
Target.
her. Yes. And then Melanie calmed me down. She gave me good perspective. She always does so that I don't, leave my man. And then I came home. And I was like, okay, we're going to have a family meeting, everyone. And I just sat everyone down and told them, like, listen, I am your mother, but I'm also a person, and it is not okay for you to mistreat me emotionally. And I'm like, the screaming, that actually bothers me. Like, I don't like it, and I don't scream at you. So when you scream at me, like, and I went through and told each of them what they needed to work on, and then I told their dad in front of all of them that he should have never told Asia that, and he apologized. I was like, do you guys remember when your dad kept leaving the clothes in the washing machine? I mean, in the dryer, and they were still wet, and my shirt was mildewed? And he said sorry, and then he did it again the next day. And then he said sorry, and then he did it again the next day.
Not my friend Chia.
Yes, your friend Chia.
Chia? No.
Right. And he was like...
Chia line hung the clothes outside in the beautiful vitamin D of the sun.
And he was like, I thought they were dry. But I just told them, like, me and your dad are not perfect. we make mistakes. We continue to apologize, but also we need to be mindful of one another. Like, we are a family, and just because we love each other doesn't mean that we can like abuse one another emotionally.
Because truly, you're coexisting with other people. And that's what life is about, truly. You know, you got to coexist in the world with other people. And in a household dynamic with that many people, I would imagine family meetings are necessary.
It's a lot of people.
There's a lot of personalities to
people.
navigate. If it's not one person that's getting on your nerves, it could be somebody else.
It's all of them all at the same time.
But also the reality of that family meeting, I don't know how it went after that, but the reality in my house that they just gonna do the same thing tomorrow.
I mean, they kind of did. Like, they were all like gun ho, yes, and they were pretty good until the end of the night. And then this morning, Asia was doing it again because her father was putting lotion on her and his hands were too cold, and she lost her marbles. And I came around the room and I was like, didn't we just talk about this yesterday in our family meeting? Your emotions are a lot. They are overwhelming everyone in the home, and it's not that serious. And you know how like you have to let your kids have their feelings? I'm also in a space where she has to learn where everything is not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I was babying her too much. Like, all your feelings matter. No, some of them don't. Your pencil broke. Move on. Because I don't want her to grow up and be an entitled. I have friends like that whose parents spoiled them where every single thing is a big deal.
Because
a pencil is not a big deal.
No, you're not wrong, but at a certain point, you're telling them what's a big deal and what's not. And we're not. This is not me saying you're wrong. I struggle with this too. My kids, they're doing all of the exact same things. But it's like, if sometimes I know that somebody's screaming about the pencil, but it's really something else.
Okay, fair.
And I want them to tell, like, let's talk. Like, what are you really feeling?
Right.
Right. No one ever tells me. But like, what are you? What are you really feeling? Are you angry? Or are you sad? Are you confused? Are you frustrated? Are you tired?
Yeah.
I don't know, Mom. I'm screaming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we balance the not a big deal and the what's really going on?
I mean, I don't know, but I also know that think about your life as an adult, right? Like, there are things that happen and there are underlying issues happening in your home, in your relationships. And it could seem like, girl, why are you tripping? Because your coffee's too sweet or something like that. And you're like, I was looking forward to this. And this is the one thing. And then now everything else. I get that. But also there has to be, I'm sorry, we are women. My children are Black women in America. You have to have a spirit of resilience. I'm not saying that they can't cry, but I'm saying that if everything is a big moment for you, you are not going to make it far in life. You have to learn how to push
I just
through.
don't know how to tell a 5-year-old.
I like that.
It's interesting that you brought up the emotions. And Fiat, you wanted to say something. I don't know if the context
bad.
is passed.
I forgot. I'm just listening to it. I thought I was going to talk.
She definitely came in like, I'm ready to talk.
What damn?
I'm like, shut up.
My bad. I know, my bad.
The emotional part, I think, is interesting too for me because I am recognizing that I'm learning through my children because I'm working on the exact same things that I'm asking my children to do.
Yeah.
Regulate your emotions. Where do you go when that happens? How do you bring yourself back? Meanwhile, I'm also the same person that's like, you're not listening to me. Like, I still struggle with those things. So it's really interesting to see that that's the dynamic that's coming up. And maybe that's why it's so frustrating. It's because I don't actually have the answers. I do feel like I have some tools.
Yeah.
I do feel like children are also real resistant to those tools sometimes. But I do try my best. And I think that that's why it is so triggering is that I and then, I know we wanted to talk about this separately, but the mental load of things is like when I've said something so many times, I'm also exhausted of hearing myself.
Yeah.
So I'm on edge.
Yeah.
And then also too, I go back to being a kid and then I think about how my mom was the disciplinarian. And so there was always this room of like, oh God, she's going to just come in the room and start yelling at us like right away. What's wrong? What didn't you do? What didn't you do right? Yeah. And then I'm very conscious of not wanting to repeat that pattern. And I don't want my son to feel that. So I have these conversations with him where I'll say, hey, I know that it feels like I'm being hard on you right now in this season. And then I try to tell him, I was like, your father and I, our job is to make sure that you are the best version of yourself in this life. And so our job is to remind you of how to do that. But you have to, at a certain point, step up and care enough about being the best version of yourself for yourself. And I said, so our job is for us to remind you. So sometimes it does feel like we're coming down on you and we're constantly telling you the same thing because that's our job.
Yeah.
And he receives that. And then, we'll get through a hard math problem and he'll hug me and say, thanks, Mom, after he's cried, but I try to not see that history repeating for my children by having that extra conversation of like, hey, I
Yeah, that's
acknowledge
fair.
this is not just me coming in and being mean.
Yeah.
This is not me trying to like ruin your day or make your life hard. This is me trying to be a good parent to you, you know? And I think he's understanding that, but he's still only 7. So
I was going to ask you, Fee, because you have already shared that you had a, what is it called?
Behavioral therapist.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why I'm like, I'm letting y'all talk. I got the answers when
Okay,
you're ready. I'm just kidding.
Yes. I haven't called her yet.
Because I feel like us getting a behavioral therapist, all of the things that you're saying was very much real, and I was getting frustrated. And I was telling the behavioral therapist, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I keep repeating myself over and over. She's like, that's why you have to give them tools. So like you going up to her and hugging her, but teaching her like, let me hug myself, so that when somebody lets go, it's like it's her. She's regulating herself, you know.
Yeah.
And at first they feel kind of weird because they're just like, like just holding.
Yeah.
But it actually works. Or having little things like you squeeze your hands super tight. And so Zen would be like, "Ugh," frustrated. Or if I have to repeat myself, like now we're to a point, I'm like, if I say it twice, third time, go into the calming corner, go take a moment and then put the timer. He knows how to set the timer to 5 minutes. Then when he calms his body down, and he'll be up there just coloring, just pissed
Mad.
off and screaming and crying. But I'm like, tone it out.
Tune it out.
Tune it out. Like, just stay focused, Felicia. But I had to learn to regulate my own emotions in that moment.
That's what I'm going to ask you. Okay, so when he's screaming, the behavioral therapist, like, I guess that's the thing. We're trying to control maybe how they're expressing themselves.
Want some water?
That for her, she's like, that's okay. Is there like a certain time limit that you should stop them? Because
He'll stop. They'll stop.
Really?
They'll stop on their own. When I put when he goes upstairs, I say, Zen, go upstairs and go in the calming corner. And I don't say, go in the calming corner, you're on timeout. I say, go to the calming corner so you can calm your body down.
Okay.
And then when you're ready, I want you to come downstairs and come tell me what it is that you're actually feeling. And then you also need to, let's say he does something to disrespect his sister. When you come downstairs, also, I need you to tell your sister while you're starry, think about what you're doing in that moment. So he always pulls out his coloring book when he's upstairs in the calming corner. And I was telling the behavioral therapist, I was like, girl, I'm getting worked up. And she was like, Felicia, that means that you need to figure out what to do in those moments. As he's in his calming corner, go find your calming corner. What does that look like for you? Peace, the same thing. We have to teach her, like, she gets so overwhelmed by her brother screaming or like kind of bullying her a little bit. And I tell her, I'm like, Peace, just go into your calming corner. You have to learn to remove yourself out of the situation. But I'm definitely learning a lot about myself.
Yes.
100%. But no, they do it on themselves. So the thing is, when we first got the behavioral therapist, I noticed that Zen was having just such a hard time regulating. It's that frontal lobe is not, it's just not developed, and us really understanding that and reminding ourselves of that in the moment when he's having these turn up moments.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing with Zen was, I was going somewhere.
you said that he gets frustrated.
Gets frustrated. I was thinking about all the things that Marnisha has given to us to
Come on,
help us.
Marnisha.
I know.
I can't wait
All
to call her.
Oh, I'm
You
about
need
to
to
call
call
her
her.
too.
No, I am.
I'm
I
calling
am.
her too.
She's fantastic. Like a game changer. I feel like a completely different mom having her. It's just a game changer. I forgot where the hell I was going.
Wait,
damn
okay,
it.
it'll come back
in
to you.
case it comes back. Well, when it comes back,
Yeah.
How long does it take? Like,
That's what I was about to
How
ask
many
you.
times did you meet with her or talk to her? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
So
process?
we started her maybe 4 months ago. 4 months ago, and then, but every week it's,
Getting better.
because life happens.
Yeah.
Life is just continuously happening. And even if we see he's having like a good week, or, either one of them, if they're having a good week, it's like, okay, but the next week is, it can be a trouble
Something
week.
triggered.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's similar to when we go to therapy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to not call my therapist just because there's nothing bad happening.
Yeah.
I'm going to do maintenance. And sometimes I'll jump on there and just tell her, like, I don't know, all the happy things that are happening. But then let's say the next session, I'm like, girl, life is lifing, So I feel like it's just keeping
same.
it consistent for them. But
Yeah.
it's a game changer. Also, when I was dropping off, one thing I noticed about Zen, he's not change is not something that he just flows with. He's resistant. And I feel like I'm the same way. Peace, you throw her in somewhere and she's just like, okay, I'm just here existing. So Zen, when he started his new school, he was just like, I don't like this school. He was crying, screaming. And I'm like, okay, something's really bothering him. So I asked the behavioral therapist. That's when I called Ashley, and I was like, "Am I supposed to homeschool my kids?" And she was like, "I don't know." But when I was talking to the behavioral therapist, she was like, "Give him an action item." So I gave him a little bracelet like this, and I handed it to him, and I'm like, "This bracelet, whenever you're feeling sad, you're feeling overwhelmed, this is, representing that mommy is always with you. I'm going, but then I'm always going to come back." So that literally was a game changer. Next day, everything was fine. So then I told him, I was like, "Zen," this was like last week. I was like, "Zen, how has it been like having the bracelet? Are you feeling better? Like, are you, like just, I guess, transitioning better?" And he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Also, mommy, I saw a G on the ground." And then I said, "Oh, G stands for Gavin, for daddy. So that means that daddy is always with me when I'm at school too." Aww. And I was like, "That's so dope, Zen." So he was like, "I'm fine." He's like, "I'm loving it now." I'm like,
Aww,
cool.
That's beautiful.
So it's like having a behavioral therapist, I feel like it's a game changer. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, "Girl, you are my parenting coach." I feel like being a parent doesn't come with a manual. It's like we're all trying. And that's ultimately why we all come and show up at this table, is to like express those things that we have questions about. But having her, and she literally specializes in how a child develops and why they're doing the things that they're doing. Cause I was like, "Ooh, is something wrong with my kid?" Like, no. And she's like, she was like, "Absolutely not. This is actually normal, and this is how you handle it." So she teaches me how to understand their language and what they're saying, and how I can step into their world. We still have a good relationship, but it's a different language. Like it's a different language. That's why I was like, everybody needs to have a Marnisha.
I was going to ask you about that, because I think that that's also the thing that comes up as parents when you start to look at your child and you see a shift in them, or there's an obstacle in their behavior that you can't quite figure out. And then you have to ask yourself, like, am I missing something?
Yeah.
Is there a deficiency here? Is there a disability here?
Yeah.
Is there a learning block? Is there like an emotional cue that's not being developed? Like, am I missing something? Like, is something wrong, quote unquote, And that's like when you said that, because I literally have been saying, like, do I need to take Cameron to like talk to someone? And I think I do, because what I recognize with Cameron is that his blocks come from his emotions. They're all emotions. Yeah. It's not like I don't understand the concept. Like if we're talking about school, it's not that I don't understand the concept. It's that something has triggered my emotion, and now I am shut down from following through on what it is that I need to do, whether that's a chore, a task, a homework assignment, like whatever it is. And everybody's just like, "Oh, boys, they're always struggling with focus."
But I
was
love
like,
doing that.
I was like, but nah.
Yeah, like I want to explore what this looks like.
What this looks like.
The coddling, that's what I was going to say. It was when I lost my train of thought, I found it.
Yes.
It's
Back on
coddling. Okay, so when I first got the behavioral therapist, one of the first questions she asked was, when he was a baby, did you hold him a lot? Did you, like, what was your guys' interaction like? And I was like, yeah, I held him all the time, because all he did was scream and cry and would bully me for my titty. And I would just be like, what the hell is going on? And so she was like, well, that's also why he is the way that he is. When he's having those big moments and those big, like, outbursts, he doesn't know how to self-regulate, because you constantly are like
100%. Yeah.
Holding them. Yeah. She was like, you're constantly doing that. She was like, so you have to learn in those moments, as much as you want to save your child, to literally let them go and do it on their own. And I was like, oh my gosh, mind you, I was also coddling Zen so much because me and their dad separated when he was only 6 months. So that was also, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was depending on that, juggling so many things. So she was like, Zen is smart, girl. Like, he knows how to run your ass. She was like, but just allow him sometimes. It's okay. And she's like, and you go in the corner. I was like, oh, so it's me. I was like, I've been the issue the whole time. But yeah, girl, that coddling shit is real.
No, you saying that, it's like a light bulb just went off, because I definitely, like how Tata is, Asia was just like that. And me and Chia were literally talking about how we forgot, which was one of you talked about this, when you were saying how you kind of like pushed Brooks, like, okay, you got to grow up. We kind of did that with Asia once I got pregnant. It was like, okay, like you're not the 2-year-old anymore. Like, go be older. And she was so used to, I was looking at old videos and pictures. She was the exact same way Tata was. She was always on me. She never wanted her dad. Every time she cried, made a noise, I would pick her up. Remember she used to suck those 2 fingers and rub my ear?
Yes.
That she's always soothed herself by sucking her fingers and rubbing my ear, or her father's. And we like cut all that off. Like when she sucked her fingers to sleep, like we got her that thing from Amazon and it was done in a week, but like there was nothing that kind of replaced it. So I think she's in a constant state of trying to soothe herself and she doesn't know how because all of her resources,
have been
her
external.
Fingers and holding me, they're all gone though. Because Tata doesn't leave room for anyone to be on me or love me. She is like an emotional blocker. Like I see my kids just looking at me like they want to hold me or touch me, but she's there.
She's right there. Yep.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
Oh my God, I can't. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I just try to hold everyone at the same time. We do a lot. I cuddle with my children all day, every day. But I have been finding myself looking at Tata in front of them and being like, these are my babies too.
Yes, that's
Tata, you have to let me hold your sister.
That's what
and
I
she
do.
gets mad, those Sagittarius. She'll like throw something or be like, no, or she'll try to like hit her sisters in the head or pop them to like move. She'll go, Mommy.
Like you're mine.
Yeah,
Like,
she
this is my
says
mom.
mommy. Like she's like, Mommy.
And they're probably like, you just got here, girl.
Oh, Amira is so annoyed.
Get in line.
Amira is so annoyed.
It's the trip. So Peace and Zen, I feel like, are very similar. Peace will kind of look at me and she'll just be like, well, I want to be held too.
Yep.
And I told her, I was like, baby, there was a moment in time where Peace was like, I don't want to be hugged and kissed.
Yeah.
And so yesterday she told me, I was showing her a baby picture of herself and I was like, Peace, this is how you used to look. I'm like, how are you 9 and like growing? Like, how is this happening? And she was, and I like grabbed her face and I like kissed her all over her neck and was just like holding her. And she was like, Mom, I want you to do that to me every day. And I was like, well, thank you for telling me. I was like, I would love to do that. I was like, sometimes I don't know, girl, you too cool.
Yeah.
I had to tell her this morning because when I drop her off at school, now she's in 3rd grade and she's cool. And she doesn't want me to give her a hug and a kiss in the morning when I drop her. And so at first I was like honoring what she was saying. But then today I was like, you know what, Peace, can I tell you something? And she's like, yeah, Mom. And I was like, tomorrow's not promised. I was like, no moment is promised at all. And I think that it's important for you to know that when mommy and daddy give you a hug and a kiss goodbye, like, I know this might sound really sad and scary, but we don't know if we're going to see each other after school. So I said, imagine if something was to happen to either one of us, you, me, daddy, Zen, and we never gave each other a hug and a kiss goodbye, you would probably be really sad. And she was like, you're right, Mom. And so she gave me my big old hug and my big old kiss. And I was like, yeah, I think that I felt just so moved because every time she didn't want me to give her a hug and a kiss in front of school, I was like, damn, tomorrow's not promised. And finally I was like, no, she can handle this information.
For sure.
Yeah, you gotta know. You gotta know what it is. And then also too, I think something that's important on that side is also it's like, okay, like you don't want it, but like mommy might need a hug today.
Yeah.
So can I ask you to like show up for me?
Yeah.
Can you do something for me? What have you done for me lately? Ooh, ooh.
Ooh. No.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're not allowed. We're
Only
not
5
allowed.
seconds.
Oh, Lord.
We're not allowed.
Yeah.
But I think hearing you say that too is like really refreshing.
Yeah.
To understand that there's just there's no rule book, y'all.
No.
You're our therapist.
I cried the other day in front of Zen. Zen was turning up. He was turning up so heavy, and I was like, I get to the point now where I just get quiet and I just shut down because I'm like, say something right now for what? He's not even in his.
Yeah.
They say when kids are screaming like that, they're literally just blacked
Somewhere
out.
else, yeah.
So I'm like, what's the point? I'm like, let me just let you do it. He kept doing it. Finally starts to calm down. And I just started crying. And I was like, Zen, I was like, I picked you up from school early so that I can surprise you to go to this, Nickelodeon slime thing. And I was like, and look at how you're being, I was like, and it wasn't a matter of like, I'm trying to make you feel guilty, but I was like, it's important for him to know how that makes me feel. I was like, mommy does so much for you. I was like, I show up for you all the time. When you need something, I'm always there. And I was like, it's not fair that you're treating me like this. And I didn't do anything to you besides bring you to this awesome experience. I said, baby, it's not even my week.
Yeah.
It's not even my day. I was like, I have a flight in the morning. I was like, so I need you to understand that mommy is compromising and mommy is, going above and beyond.
And also doing the best you can.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going above and beyond so that you can smile and like, look at how you're paying back. I'm like, it doesn't feel good.
No, I think that's super important because I've always done that with Amira and she is extremely emotionally intelligent. Extremely.
Yeah.
And she's very much, she'll own her behavior and she's so like mindful of my feelings and her father's feelings. And I feel like you should, some people might feel like you shouldn't tell your kids that, but I'm like, it's not a manipulative thing. It's just an awareness, because
an
you want them to
awareness.
grow up to be an emotionally intelligent adult who understands that like your behavior affects other people.
Absolutely.
I will say though that to that, because I think we all understand what is being said there and the way that we parent. But there are people who abuse that type of behavior,
fair.
and they're
That's fair.
raising people pleasers.
Yeah. Yes.
Which are like, well, if you don't give me a kiss, then I'm gonna cry.
No,
or
I
like,
feel like
yeah.
that's very
like,
different.
oh, it's
stand
like,
that
oh,
shit.
fine,
Just
I'm
being
gonna
careful not to say like you're making me.
Yes.
feel
You're making me.
Yes,
That
yes.
language there,
Yes.
that language there is really, really important. Or it's like when you act like that, I feel.
Yep.
Right.
Or like, and two, expressing like your own experience. Like I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying so hard to like create a great experience for you. You know?
That's fair.
And I think that's too important too, because I know, like even sometimes, even with Cam, there are times when he's so used to being kumbaya about everything and like go in a flow and everybody needs to be happy and that's the goal, that sometimes like I'll say, hey buddy, do you want to do this? And he'll be like, no, not really, mom, maybe later. And I'm like, you don't? And he'll be like, no. And I'll say, okay. And then he'll pause and then he'll be like, well, if you want to do it, we could do it, mom. It's okay.
He sounds,
you know?
him and Peace remind me so
Yeah.
much of each other. It's
That's a mirror,
crazy.
too.
And so,
Yeah.
and so there are times, like even when there's been times where I know my feelings did get hurt or whatever it is, I will literally turn to him and I'll be like, baby, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
If you don't want to do this right now, it's okay.
That's okay.
You know, because I love that you're considering me, but also at the same time, I don't want that to become a habit where you feel like you have to not express how you actually feel about a situation to make other people happy all the time.
Yep.
That's so hard. Like, I feel like sometimes we can overthink it because we're trying so hard to not be our parents
To get it
sometimes.
right.
Yeah, or sometimes. And I think that
That's true.
when I look at a mirror, I realize like it's going to be okay. Do you know what I mean? Like she gives me a clear perspective of like what I've done right, what I can do better. And she's so, this is what I wanted to tell you guys too. The other day I was like, oh my God. Like you have those moments where you're like, I'm a good mom. I love that Amira is a teenager and she will come in my room and sit on my bed and tell me about her whole day. And she was just sitting there talking incessantly about every single detail of her day. And I was like, thank you, God, that she still feels so comfortable telling me about boys and this happened and oh my God. And it just made me feel like I created this environment for her to trust me and for her to like feel open. And those are the moments where I'm like, no kid is perfect, but those are the moments where I realize like, okay, you're doing a good job. Because at the end of the day, I just want my kids to feel comfortable enough to talk to me about whatever it is. Like, and we'll work through it together.
Cam always says, Mom, can I tell you something? Or Mom, can I ask you something? And my answer is always anything. I don't care what you're about to say. I want you to always get it in your head that if you think, can I tell my mom this? Can I ask her this? I might not say yes, but it don't matter what it is. Like, yes, the answer is anything. I don't ever want you to feel like you can't. So I don't know what you're about to say or ask, but anything. But on that note.
This is definitely an interesting season.
Oh, girl. It's
and
never
I'm looking
ending.
forward to calling the behavioral therapist.
Y'all better call my girl. Okay.
For sure this is happening. For sure.
Before I post her on my Instagram.
Oh, no, wait. Okay.
Y'all know I'm like, y'all better come on. Get your appointment.
Give me a month.
Oh,
I'm calling.
okay, we're going to call her tomorrow.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll call, but but I'm saying
I'm
before
like,
she
why-
posts. Let's not,
Okay, that's fair. Okay.
let's not tell the world.
Yeah, I'm like,
not
you know,
yet.
if I tell the world, it's a wrap.
We can have her on.
Oh,
After Ashley and
I already told her.
yes.
I was like, you trying to come into the podcast?
Yes, that's
Yes,
we
I
should
love it.
for
I
sure.
love
She is a game changer.
Okay.
I feel like she's
fantastic.
a homegirl. I don't know.
She is a homegirl.
Yeah.
100,000. I told her our first session, I was like, we're friends. I'm letting you know. And then my therapist I also love. And I'm like, all three of us are friends.
Y'all need to be talking to
I'm going
each
to still
other,
pay
so-
y'all, but we're all friends. Yeah.
I love it. I love
dope.
it. All right, ladies. This was super helpful for me.
I still don't know what to do, but I'm going to try.
That's okay. One day at a time.
I'm gonna try.
That's it.
But it is nice to know that like there are seasons of this, and there are tools and resources, and every kid is
I
different.
love the way you
and-
say resources.
I say that all the time.
Resources.
She
I
says
really
it
like the way
differently.
you say it.
It's a Canadian
You say it
thing.
with the Z, resources.
You do.
Do I really? What is the word?
Resource.
Resource.
The same way it's spelled. Resources.
You was shady today.
No, spicy. Cheers.
No, not in a bad
No,
way.
girl, you was a little spicy today.
Resources.
Wait, okay, let's just twist
Did I
this a
say
little bit. How do you,
resources?
what's adult? Can you
Adult.
just- a what?
Adult.
Adult.
I'm saying the T. Adult.
Okay,
With
how
an
do you
L?
say
Are saying the
Philadelphia?
L?
Philadelphia.
Peace is clowning me. She's like, that's not how you say it.
How do you say it?
Philadelphia.
Girl,
Philadelphia.
Dolph.
I said it wrong.
Well, it's spelled the way it sounds the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
Wait,
Philadelphia.
Say
That's
it.
it.
Philadelphia.
You're saying
Yeah.
Dolphia, like dolphin.
Well, nevertheless, it's been a wonderful day. Love you
Hey
guys.
Siri.
Apparently, we don't know how to raise these kids
how
and
do you
speak
say
words.
Philadelphia?
Have a great
It is
day,
not have a-
mamas.
what is happening right
Mamas of the day.
Mama's friends of the den. Bye.
Bye.
Dolphia?
Dolph.
Dolphia.
Baby.
The end.